Good morning, everyone. My name is Mohammad Arsil, and today our team will be presenting our project Rethinking Plastic and MSW Clean Future Green Solutions. Our work explores two sustainability initiatives for DevCo in Saudi Arabia to improve waste management and reduce emissions, all while ensuring financial viability. Here's our team. I'm Arsil, the lead researcher. Alongside me are Zhang, a methodology lead, Banu, a financial analyst, Ziyan, a facilitator and modeling assistant, Liana, a coordinator and simulation analyst, and Advait, a writer and concluding speaker. We have structured the presentation into key sections: executive summary, project context and purpose, methodology, key findings and financials, scenario and sensitivity analysis, conclusion, and recommendation. Let's begin with the executive summary. Our project evaluated the economic and environmental effects of DevCo's Project Green in Saudi Arabia. We emphasized plastic and paper waste reduction and green MSW treatment. Using tools like CAPEX, OPEX, MPV, and MAC, we assessed the cost and carbon reduction. We also applied scenario, sensitivity, and cost-benefit analysis through Excel-based modeling. We focused on two major sustainability initiatives. Our first initiative focuses on plastic and paper reduction. We propose smart recycling systems, biodegradable packaging, and digital solutions. The target is a 40% cut in plastic and 60% cut in paper within 3 years. These changes support a circular economy, reduce pollution, and offer cost-saving benefits. The second initiative is about advanced municipal solid waste treatment. We use technologies like anaerobic digestion to turn waste into energy, keeping 85% of it out of landfills. This supports sustainable waste management, creates jobs, reduces pollution, and delivers clean, renewable energy while saving costs. And now let's look at the background and purpose of this project, why we are doing this, and what problems we are trying to solve. Plastic and MSW waste are urgent challenges. Our cities are overwhelmed with trash. We need sustainable, financially viable solutions which uses smart tools. Our project builds a data-driven financial plan for cutting waste and making treatment efficient. This supports both economic growth and environmental sustainability.
Thanks, Arsal. Let me take you through the framework and tools that shaped our study. Our project tackles two pressing challenges: urban waste overload and unsustainable disposal practices. The goal was to build financially viable strategies for plastic, paper reduction, and green MSW treatment using data-driven tools. We applied a 4-step process. 1. Plan, identify goals, and structure the pathway. 2. Gather data, emissions factors, CAPEX, OPEX, project life, WACC. 3. Analyze. This was the core of our work. Using Excel and custom models, we calculated MPV and MACC to evaluate cost efficiency of co-reduction, payback periods. We also included sensitivity and scenario testing for robustness, modeling baseline emissions using Bow assumptions. 4. Conclude. Finally, we compiled the results and compared them side by side to make actionable, data-driven recommendations. For the VOCO2, we assumed a baseline emission factor for incineration of 1.5. This factor represents the CO2 emissions expected to be released even after implementing the initiative. 1 ton of MSWE equals 1 ton of CO2.
Hi, my name is Banu and I'll be moving forward with our presentation. So I'll be looking from slide 17, plastic and paper waste reduction, CAPEX and OPEX. Initiative 1 focuses on reducing plastic and paper waste through strategic investments. We allocated approximately 419,620 Saudi Arabian riyals in CAPEX to launch the initiative, with a net CAPEX of 1.15 million SAR after adjusting for asset-related expenses. Over 15 years, projected OPEX is around 2.73 million SAR, covering operational and maintenance costs. However, when we subtract operational revenue, the net OPEX falls to just over 812,000 SAR. These numbers highlight how the initiative has been designed with long-term cost efficiency in mind, delivering impactful waste reduction while managing capital and operational costs effectively. This sets the stage for a circular, low-waste economy with scalable, financially sound solutions. BAU CO2 emissions and recycling impact. Under the business as usual scenario, our baseline CO2 emissions stood at over 2.15 million tons. Through Initiative 1, we've achieved a meaningful reduction of 1,309 tons of carbon dioxide per year. This comes from recycling 850 tons each of plastic and paper annually. Recycling plastic reduces emissions by about 1.08 kg per kilogram, and paper saves roughly 0.46 kg. That adds up to 918 tons of CO2 saved from plastic and 391 from paper. These results clearly show how improving recycling systems lead to substantial carbon abatement. It's not just about managing waste, it's about actively fighting climate change through targeted, measurable actions. Green MSW treatment, CapEx and OpEx. Now moving to Initiative 2, Green Municipal Solid Waste Treatment, we invested a substantial 820 million SAR in CapEx to build advanced infrastructure. But after accounting for asset sales, our net CapEx came down to 116 million SAR. Operating costs are estimated at 216.2 million SAR over 15 years. However, due to revenue from our initiative, our net OpEx rose to around 1.27 billion SAR, reflecting the scale and complexity of waste-to-energy operations. Despite high costs, this project supports major carbon dioxide reductions and renewable energy output, reinforcing the value of sustainable waste treatment in both environmental and economic terms. Next up, I'll be looking over slide 20, BAU emissions and MSW CO2 impact. Under the business as usual case, MSW related CO2 emissions were nearly 17.6 million tons, with annual emissions around 554,000 tons. After launching Initiative 2, we cut this by 58,029 tons per year. This dramatic reduction demonstrates the power of advanced waste management techniques like anaerobic digestion and energy recovery. These systems reduce landfill dependence while generating clean energy, turning waste into an asset. The scale of impact here is enormous, especially when considering that 1 year of emissions abatement through the system exceeds the cumulative reductions from many smaller interventions. Green MSW is not just effective, it's essential.
Simulation analysis. Here we have the risk matrix analysis, which helps identify and mitigate key risks across sustainability initiatives. The red zone shows high risk areas like E1 emission non-compliance, where carbon dioxide exceeds government targets. Yellow areas represent medium risks such as plastic collection failures, public disinterest, and tech breakdowns in recycling. Green areas like funding delays and data errors are low risk but are still required monitoring. The goal is to prioritize high impact, high likelihood threats like E1 while proactively managing medium risk to prevent escalation. Initiative 1, Plastic and Paper Reduction Sensitivity Analysis. This slide shows the sensitivity analysis for Initiative 1, focusing on plastic reduction. The base scenario starts at a 30% reduction, resulting in 25,000 tons of carbon dioxide abatement. As we increase the reduction to 90%, the abatement reaches 76,500 tons. The graph clearly illustrates a strong linear relationship. Even modest improvements in plastic reduction delivered significant environmental benefits. This supports scaling our efforts to reach higher reduction targets, maximizing impacts while aligning with climate goals. Initiative 2, Green MSW Treatment Sensitivity Analysis. Here we analyze the financial sensitivity of municipal solid waste treatment for a 50,000 ton capacity facility. Cost per ton scenarios range from 14,000 to 19,000. As shown, total investment scales rapidly from 700 million to 950 million. Even small per ton increases lead to significant capital spikes, reinforcing the need for cost efficiency in technology selections and vendor contracts. Understanding this sensitivity is vital to maintaining financial feasibility while achieving sustainable targets.
This slide explores the potential impact of market volatility on the plastic and paper reduction initiative. By 2035, we expect to process 1,700 tons at a total cost of roughly 3.15 million Saudi riyals. However, under a climate risk scenario involving supply chain disruptions, we estimate that 25% of capacity, about 425 tons, may be affected. This would lead to replacement costs of approximately 786,000 Saudi riyals. The key takeaway is that waste processing systems are at risk to market fluctuations and supply chain fragility. It's critical to factor in these risks early in the planning phase to protect investments and ensure long-term stability. Now let's examine operational risks in the green MSW treatment project. By 2035, we aim to process 50,000 tons with a total investment of around 820 million Saudi riyals. But in a scenario where 20% of capacity, about 10,000 tons, is lost due to equipment failure or system disruptions, replacement cost would soar to 164 million Saudi riyals. The insight here is that complex MSW systems carry high operational risk. Reliability issues must be anticipated from the outset. For future projects, it's vital to design resilient systems with strong maintenance protocols to safeguard returns and ensure uninterrupted operations.
Thank you, Liana. Let's compare the net present value of the two investment options. On the left, we have plastic and paper reduction with a relatively low capex of about 420,000 SAR and a total cash flow of just over 29.7 million SAR. This gives us a net present value of 29.37 million SAR using a calculated 8.14 as WACC. On the right, for green MSW treatment, the capex is significantly higher at 820 million SAR, but it also yields a much larger cash flow, over 11.1 billion SAR, resulting in a net present value of more than 10.3 billion SAR. While both investments generate strong net present values, the MSW treatment project delivers a substantially higher absolute return. Now let's see what happens if we assume a lower WACC of 6.23%. For plastic and paper reduction, the NPV increases to approximately 33.16 million SAR, showing improved returns due to the lower discount rate. Its OPEX remains around 2.7 million and it reduces about 25,334 tons of carbon emissions. In comparison, green MSW treatment sees its net present value rise to an impressive 11.83 billion SAR, with OPEX around 216 million SAR and over 203,000 tons of CO2 emissions mitigated. This analysis shows how sensitive both projects are to changes in discount rates and reinforces the strong financial and environmental benefits of the MSW treatment option. Next, we analyze the payback period. For plastic and paper reduction, with an initial investment of just under 420,000 SAR and a first year cash flow of about 3.25 million SAR, the payback period is extremely short, only 0.129 years or roughly around 47 days. That's a remarkably fast return on investment. For green MSW treatment, although the capex is much higher at 820 million SAR, the annual cash flow also scales up significantly over 1.17 billion SAR. This results in a payback period of around 0.69 years or roughly 8 months, which is still an excellent turnaround for such a large-scale project. Now let's consider the discounted payback rule, which accounts for the time value of money. For paper and plastic reduction, the discounted cash flow is about 2.95 million SAR in the first year. Dividing the initial investment by this gives a payback period of just 0.142 years or around 52 days, still incredibly efficient. For green MSW treatment, the discounted first year cash flow is just over 1.06 billion. This yields a discounted payback period of 0.766 years, approximately 9 months. Even after adjusting for discounting, both projects show very favorable recovery times, reinforcing their financial viability.
Now let's move on to the IRR analysis of these two initiatives. For the plastic and paper reduction initiative, based on previous calculation data, we know its capex annual revenue and annual operating cost. The annual net cash flow is revenue minus cost, amounting to 3,509,833. The calculated IRR over 15 years is 836%, which is far higher than the WACC of 8.14%. This indicates it's an investment project with an extremely high return rate and well worth investing in. For the second initiative, referring to prior data, its capex is 160 million SAR, with an annual net cash flow of 79,500,000. Thus, the IRR over 16 years is 50%, also making it a highly worthwhile investment. Next, let's discuss the cost-benefit analysis. After discounting the annual cash flows at a rate of 8.14%, the present value of benefits for the first initiative over 15 years is 29,324,910 SAR. The benefit cost ratio, calculated by dividing benefits by annual operating costs, is 12.07, meaning benefits are 12 times the costs, proving its high profitability. For Initiative 2, using the same method, the benefit cost ratio is 4.36, also showing benefits outweigh costs. In conclusion, both projects are highly profitable and feasible.
Now let's wrap up with the conclusions, summarizing why our proposed waste initiatives are both financially viable and environmentally critical. We've focused on two core strategies: plastic and paper waste reduction and green MSW treatment. Both offer long-term sustainability benefits, mainly by improving recycling efficiency, recovering valuable resources, and cutting down on harmful emissions. These aren't just good ideas, they're strong investments. Although upfront costs are significant like 820 million for MSW treatment, the financial performance tells a compelling story otherwise. We're looking at a rapid payback period, some as low as 0.13 to 0.76 years, and positive net present values, which confirms a strong financial justification. Environmental impact is another key win. Combined, both strategies reduced over 59,000 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent annually. That's a significant cut. And the benefits don't stop at emissions. We also see a reduced landfill dependency, better public recycling behavior, and even job creation as we shift towards another circular economy. Our sensitivity and scenario analysis shows these projections are resilient, even when facing cost shocks or market changes. These are critical especially when dealing with long-term infrastructures. So what's the final takeaway? Both initiatives are not just financially sound, they're essential for building sustainable waste systems that align with Vision 2030. This is about more than waste, it's a blueprint for a cleaner, more resilient future.